It was 6:43 a.m. on a Tuesday when Jenna unlocked the front doors of Common Grounds Cafe. The downtown air still held that thin, gray chill that sticks to your coat like bad news. The sidewalks were mostly empty, except for the newspaper guy, a street sweeper, and a figure sitting across the street on the curb. A figure wrapped in too many layers, hunched beneath a blue tarp, head tucked down like a bird in the cold. Jenna didn't think much of it. You saw people like that often downtown. She didn't stare, just clicked on the lights, tied her green apron, and fired up the espresso machine. The day began like any other. At 7:05, a businesswoman came in barking into her phone. Triple shot oat milk, no foam. At 7:15, two college kids ordered cold brews and giggled about a professor they hated. At 7:30, a man with a mustache and Wall Street Journal got his regular hot tea, extra lemon. And then, at 7:41, the bell over the door gave a softer ring. She entered like a question mark, thin, covered in a brown coat that had once been beautiful, now frayed at the seams. Her scarf was thick and woolen, wrapped several times around her neck. Her gloves didn't match, and her boots were two different colors. But what Jenna noticed most were her hands. Hands stained in faint blue and green, like watercolor bleeding into skin. Paint. The woman stepped up to the counter slowly, eyes cast down. She held something in her hand. A small plastic bag filled with quarters, dimes, and a couple nickels. "One small coffee, please," she said. "Black, if that's all right." Her voice was soft, gentle, the kind that makes you lean in to hear it. Jenna blinked. "Of course. That's fine." She took the bag, counted the change, exactly $1.67. The woman waited quietly. No fuss, no apology, no explanation. Jenna poured the coffee and handed it over. "Cream or sugar?" "No, thank you," the woman said, taking the cup in both hands like it was sacred. She moved to a corner table by the window and sat, slowly, carefully, like every joint hurt. Then she just stared out the glass. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. She didn't sip her coffee. Just held it. Warmed her fingers. From time to time, she pulled something out of her coat pocket. A tiny, half-used notepad and a charcoal pencil. She began to sketch on the back of an old napkin. Jenna watched from the counter. Something about her was familiar, but she couldn't place it. An hour passed. The cafe filled. Lattes, scones, background noise. The woman in the corner remained invisible to most, but Jenna kept glancing over. And then something happened. At 8:53, a customer knocked his drink off a table. An iced mocha exploded across the hardwood like a brown puddle of shame. Jenna grabbed paper towels and rushed over. As she cleaned, she saw the woman get up slowly and place her napkin sketch on the table. It was breathtaking. Just a few charcoal lines. Maybe 30 seconds of work. But somehow, in that napkin, was the entire cafe, the lights, the cups, the people, the clutter. Loose, elegant, alive. The man who spilled the drink stared. "Did you draw this?" The woman smiled. "Just passing time." Then she sat back down. Jenna cleaned the mess, but her mind was elsewhere. Who was this woman? Why paint on her hands? Why sketch like a master and live on quarters? And why did her eyes seem to carry centuries? By the time 9:30 came around, the woman stood up. She left the coffee cup, empty now, and placed the charcoal napkin neatly under it. She pulled the scarf tighter and headed for the door. Jenna wanted to say something, but all she managed was, "Hey, come back tomorrow. First coffee's on me." The woman paused, turned, and for the first time looked her directly in the eyes. There was warmth there. "You're kind," she said simply. "That matters." Then she left. Jenna stood behind the counter, holding the napkin sketch in her hand. And something inside her whispered, "She's not who you think she is." Jenna couldn't stop thinking about the napkin. After the woman left, she tucked it into her apron pocket. She didn't know why. It just felt wrong to throw it away. Back behind the counter, the morning rush slowed into a soft lull. A few laptop warriors settled into their usual spots, and the retirees were back at their chess table in the corner. Jenna wiped the counter for the third time and pulled out the napkin again. The lines weren't random. They moved with precision, with grace. There was humor in the way a coffee cup leaned just slightly off balance. There was texture in a man's stubble. Light danced off the countertop in nothing but charcoal. And something about the style felt familiar. At noon, Leo arrived for his shift. He clocked in, grabbed a cold brew, and raised an eyebrow at her expression. "You look like you just saw a ghost." Jenna held out the napkin. "You recognize this?" Leo squinted. His eyes widened. "Yo, that looks like W. Dorian. Who's that?" She was huge in the art scene. 10, maybe 15 years ago. Mysterious, charcoal sketching, always on the street. And then she just vanished. He pulled out his phone. A few clicks later, he turned the screen to her. An old Instagram page. At Dorian Lines, artist. Observing the world, one corner at a time. Last post, 2012. Jenna scrolled. Every piece was like the napkin. Simple, striking. And then she gasped. One sketch, dated 2010, was the very street their cafe stood on. Same bench, same cracked curb, even the old graffiti. Leo tapped the image. "Told you, that's gotta be her." That night, Jenna sent a DM to the account. "Hi, I think I saw your work today, on a napkin. Are you still in the city?" No reply. But 2 days later, Willa came back. Same coat, same scarf, but now a tiny worn sketchbook in her hand. Jenna smiled. "Coffee's on me. You don't have to." "I want to." As Willa sat in the same corner seat, Jenna brought over a warm scone. "What's your name?" Willa paused, then quietly said, "Willa." Just that. Jenna reached into her apron and gently placed the napkin on the table. Willa stared at it. Her fingers trembled. "You shouldn't have kept that." "Why not?" "Because people want to own beauty, but not the person who made it." That sentence hung in the air. Jenna didn't push. She just watched as Willa opened her sketchbook and started to draw again. Saturday brought a gray sky and wind sharp enough to slice through your coat. But at exactly 7:35 a.m., Willa walked through the cafe doors again. Jenna was ready this time. She had a fresh stool waiting, coffee already brewed. a warm blueberry muffin on a plate. Willa nodded in quiet thanks and sat in her usual corner. She pulled out her worn sketchbook and began to draw. Jenna watched from behind the counter, not with suspicion, but with something closer to reverence. The way Willa moved was like watching music, each stroke improvised, effortless. The kind of confidence that doesn't come from practice, but from being born with it. Finally, Jenna found her voice. "Willa, were you an artist? I mean, like, for real?" Willa paused. She looked down at her charcoal-stained fingers. "I was something." Then she said, "My name is Willa Dorian." "You were right." Jenna froze. "Wait, the Willa Dorian? The one who disappeared?" Willa gave a faint smile. "I didn't disappear. I walked away." And she told her story about the 2012 gallery opening. 34 pieces, every single one sold. The critics called her a ghost with a gift, the soul of the city in charcoal. But the attention came with a price. People stopped caring about the art. They cared about her, where she went, who she dated, why she didn't smile at red carpets. They didn't want Willa Dorian, the artist. They wanted Willa Dorian, the mystery. So one day, she left. No goodbye. No forwarding address. I thought maybe if I walked away from the noise, I'd hear the art again. She looked around the cafe. I think I'm still listening. That day, Willa stayed until almost noon, and she drew everything. The man who fell asleep over his laptop. The little girl with pigtails sharing cocoa. Jenna, pouring espresso like a ritual. By the time she left, her sketchbook was heavy with life. And that night, Jenna made a decision. With Willa's quiet permission, she scanned a few napkins, took photos of a few sketches, and created an anonymous Instagram page. Street charcoal, no name, no tags, just art. Within 48 hours, the art world noticed. A former gallery rep commented, "These lines. Is this Willa Dorian?" More comments poured in. "Impossible. She's gone. I'd recognize this style anywhere." And the question buzzed louder. Is she back? Within a week, the anonymous Instagram page hit 12,000 followers. By the end of the second week, it passed 50,000. Curators, collectors, journalists, they all sent DMs. Everyone wanted to know who this mystery artist was. Everyone wanted Willa Dorian. But when Jenna showed Willa the page one morning, expecting maybe gratitude, maybe pride, Willa just looked tired. "I didn't want fame," she said. "I wanted peace." Jenna felt her stomach drop. She meant well, but maybe the world didn't deserve her yet. Still, Willa kept coming in. She still sketched, still sat in her usual corner, still drew strangers like they were symphonies in skin and soul, and people began to come just to see her. First it was art students, then local teachers, then someone from a non-profit left a $100 bill on the counter without a word. Willa never spoke much. but every day she saw. Then, one morning, Willa handed Jenna a sealed envelope. "To you," it read. Inside, a short letter and a charcoal sketch. The letter said, "Thank you for seeing me before they did." The sketch? Jenna herself, her eyes calm, her hands mid-motion pouring a cup of coffee, her face open. Jenna cried right there behind the counter. Then Willa stopped showing up. One day, then a week, then 2. Jenna asked around, shelters, soup kitchens, even the old bench Willa once napped on. Nothing. Until a month later. A man in a tailored navy suit walked into the cafe. He ordered a black coffee, then asked for Jenna. "Are you the one running the At Street Charcoal page?" Jenna nodded cautiously. The man reached into his satchel and handed her a thick folder. "She left this for you." Inside, a legal document, a will, and one last letter. Willa had passed away quietly. No noise, no obituary. But before she did, she left something behind. Over 200 original sketches, each one signed, sealed, and gifted to Jenna with instructions. "Let them see what I saw. Not in museums, not in auctions, but in the real world. Show them people, Jenna, as they are." Jenna wept, then got to work. 2 months later, an exhibit opened in a small gallery right around the corner from the cafe. Not in Manhattan, not in Paris, but where it mattered most. Where Willa lived quietly, saw deeply, and drew honestly. The walls were filled with napkins, scraps, notebook pages, lives frozen in lines. And in the center, under warm yellow light, hung Willa's final piece. Title, Home. 4,000 people came in the first week. They didn't come for fame. They came for truth. They came to see the world through the eyes of a woman who was invisible in life and immortal in line. Near the guest book sat a bench with a small plaque. "In memory of Willa Dorian, she saw us all." She didn't want to be found. She didn't want praise. She just wanted peace and paper and people to stop for a moment and look. And now, she's not lost. She's everywhere. In corners, on napkins, in the eyes of strangers, finally being seen. Thank you for watching. If you want to get more that kind of stories, press like and check out our channel.